not as old as I look.
Really? Are you any richer than you look?
A terrible life was lived by the endearing 1970s actress Loni Anderson, who also served as the spokesman for a KOPD support group. From family to marriage, Loni's troubled youth and 4 terrible marriages continue to follow her as she approaches her 80th year. Everything you need is in this video, so keep watching. All right, let's begin. The gifted actress Loni Anderson came into this world in August 1946 in St. Paul, Minnesota. Her magnetic personality and stunning good looks made her stand out even at an early age. Her stunning good looks earned her the title of Valentine Queen at her high school's winter formal. Despite her good looks and voracious appetite for information, Loni Anderson was never meant to be more than a trophy wife. Anderson started classes at the highly esteemed University of Minnesota in 1963. She entered many beauty pageants, capitalizing on her outstanding good looks to fund her schooling. A major accomplishment was being named Miss Roseville, which qualified her to compete in the Miss Minnesota pageant. Despite finishing in second place, Loni Anderson had bigger dreams than winning a beauty contest. Unfortunately, due to unforeseen obstacles, her professional goals had to take a detour. Bruce Hasselbeck and she were married while they were still students because she fell in love with him. A newborn girl, Dedra, was shortly introduced into the world. Anderson had to figure out how to be a working mother on her own after her marriage didn't last. It didn't stop Loni Anderson from going after her dreams, no matter how hard it became. She found her genuine calling in life as an actress during this difficult time. The first steps on her path to popularity came when she took up parts in regional theater performances and advertisements. Loni Anderson would go on to become a famous actor because to her ability and determination. It was a watershed moment in 1975 when Loni Anderson and her second husband, Ross Blue, decided to bid farewell to the icy Minnesota winters and hello to the warm sunshine of Los Angeles. Making a name for oneself in the cutthroat entertainment world was their unwavering objective. As soon as he touched down in Los Angeles, Loni Anderson dove himself into his profession. She swiftly became well known in the entertainment industry after landing supporting parts on several television series. She was a regular on several hit TV shows, including Barnaby Jones, The Bob Newhart Show, and The Incredible Hulk. One of her most famous roles was as Chrissy on the hit sitcom Three's Company. Although Suzanne Summers was cast in the role, Loni Anderson's audition was much lauded. The show's star John Ritter was perplexed as to why she didn't land the part after such a strong audition. The entertainment world was clearly taking note of Loni Anderson's abilities despite this initial setback. Her future was predetermined by fate. Her breakthrough came in 1978 when she landed the role of Jennifer Marlowe, the sultry and glamorous receptionist on the hit sitcom WKRP in Cincinnati. This role was a watershed moment in her career, propelling her to stardom and solidifying her place in the television industry. While Loni Anderson was first hesitant to play Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati, she eventually warmed up to the part. Being one of the few female cast members, she was very conscious of the danger of having her character reduced to a stereotypical role. But Anderson decided to tackle the problem directly instead of avoiding it. She spoke up to the show's creators about her issues and how she felt her character Jennifer needed more nuance and intelligence in the script. Her determination to not have her persona portrayed in a superficial light and her willingness to speak up paid dividends. Jennifer Marlowe was given a bright intellect and an energetic personality by the show's writers in response to Anderson's push for her character's growth. This change was a big deal since women back then generally played conventional roles on TV. Loni Anderson's portrayal of a multifaceted and substantive female character was groundbreaking, and her role provided an example for other female TV characters to follow. The choice to become blonde was another part of the job that Anderson had to deal with. She was anxious about how people would view her as an actor if she went blonde, as she had always been a brunette. Anderson was hesitant to become blonde, but she ultimately chose to do it so she could become Jennifer Marlowe. She has maintained her distinctive blonde hairstyle ever since, cementing her legendary position as an actress in the entertainment world, and this daring decision became an essential aspect of her image. Loni Anderson has spoken publicly about her complex personality, drawing attention to the difference between her private and public selves. The actress has stated that her real personality is at odds with the public's perception of her as a sex symbol. Anderson spoke frankly about how the moniker sex symbol made her feel in an exposing 1983 interview, saying that it was an overpowering and uncomfortable feeling. She went to great lengths to clarify that this designation may, in a sense, dilute her uniqueness as an authentic, complex human being. Loni Anderson has always been aware of the importance of her appearance in the entertainment business, even if she has misgivings about being stereotyped as a sex symbol. In the same interview, she revealed a fascinating story about her co-star Pat O'Brien, who had urged her to take advantage of the prospects in Hollywood, mentioning that the comedy industry lacked beautiful comedians. After giving this piece of advice some thought for a while, Anderson made the decision to transition from theater to television. For her career, this choice was a turning point. It is clear that Loni Anderson skillfully maneuvered through the intricate landscape of her public character and individuality, eventually capitalizing on her attractiveness and abilities to establish a distinct and lasting legacy in the entertainment industry. Despite the show's 4 years and a roster of funny guest stars, WKRP in Cincinnati was most known for Loni Anderson's Jennifer Marlowe. In spite of the non-stop mayhem going on around her, Jennifer Marlowe, with her breathtaking blonde hair and flawless appearance, managed to keep her composure and grace. A fascinating aspect of her character was her inclination to abandon her co-workers to their own devices, which contrasted with her steadfast devotion to her boss, Mr. Carlson. A closet full of chic, form-hugging garments that showed off her curves in all the correct places was her signature style. The sitcom's loyal fan following grew despite the show's dismal ratings. Viewers ranged from teens and young adults to those who worked at radio stations and could connect to the show's antics. There's no hiding the fact that Loni Anderson's magnetic performance was a major factor in the show's longevity. After 90 episodes, the original WKRP in Cincinnati ended broadcasting on April 21, 1982. But with syndication, the program breathed new life into it and became an enormous hit, much to everyone's surprise. It continued to dominate syndication for the next decade, even surpassing some series that had been more successful during their primetime runs. Fans were able to relive Loni Anderson's memorable performance as Jennifer Marlowe on the new WKRP in Cincinnati, which ran from 1991 to 1993 and paid homage to the series' lasting popularity by having Anderson appear as a guest star on the show. With a list of film credits that goes all the way from 1966 to 2020, Loni Anderson has had quite the impressive acting career. She started her career in the mid-1970s with a little part as a brunette bar lady in Steve McQueen's Western Nevada Smith, and then moved on to television. During this period, she was a regular on TV, making appearances on shows like Barnaby Jones, The Bob Newhart Show, and even tried out for a role on Three's Company. She also had a starring role in a TV movie called The Jane Mansfield Story, co-starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. Her depiction as Jennifer Marlowe on WKRP in Cincinnati was the real deal, though, and it propelled her to fame and widespread recognition. Loni Anderson did not squander any time when WKRP in Cincinnati ended in 1982 in acquiring fresh parts to advance her acting career. As her acting career flourished, she joined the cast of the 2016-2018 comedy series My Sister Is So Gay, and she went on to star in a number of other television productions, including Partners in Crime, Easy Street, Nurses, Melrose Place, The Mullets, and So Notorious. Cast as Jean Carlisle Dixon in the 2019 TV pilot Love You More, she made her acting debut that year. Loni Anderson has kept up a busy Hollywood presence by walking the red carpet at a plethora of premieres, galas, and charity events, even if he has appeared less often on television in recent years. In a July 2017 visit, she wore a black denim jacket, pants, and her trademark flowing blonde hair showcasing her classic beauty. She was beaming with excitement at the 26th annual Race to Erase MS Gala, only 2 years after that. Loni Anderson's interview with Closer Weekly, in which she discussed the importance of accepting one's age and the need to dispel preconceptions about the role of grandmothers, further attests to her famous standing in the entertainment industry. Each of Loni Anderson's 4 marriages has been an interesting chapter in his life. Bruce Hasselberg was her first husband, and they were married for about 2 years in 1964. Deidre Hasselberg was the daughter of this union. Ross Blue, an aspiring actor, was Anderson's second husband when she wed him in 1973. After moving to Los Angeles together, they shared a common goal: to become famous actors or musicians. But they divorced in 1981, while Anderson was still enjoying a spectacular run on WKRP in Cincinnati. Loni Anderson's marriage to Hollywood legend Burt Reynolds is arguably the most well-known of her marriages. They met in 1988 on the set of Stroker Ace and instantly hit it off. A kid called Quentin Anderson Reynolds was adopted by the couple. Their relationship came to a public and bitter breakup after 12 years of marriage. Loni Anderson and Burt Reynolds' love story. Until he met Loni, Burt Reynolds had a very hard time getting married again after his first divorce. In 1983, Burt Reynolds' Stroker Ace chronicled the exploits of the film's protagonist, a NASCAR racer. Actor Loni Anderson was pivotal as the protagonist's romantic interest. Even if few people remember the film, the bond that formed between Burt and Loni will live on in tabloids and popular culture. The media's attention was immediately drawn to their romance. After a long courtship, Burt Reynolds and Loni Anderson got married in 1988, marking the culmination of their romance. Inviting guests to the lovely Florida site via helicopter, their wedding was an extravagant occasion. Because of how widely reported on the incident was, People magazine dedicated an entire issue to covering it. From the outside looking in, it seemed like Burt and Loni were living the dream, engulfed in the light of their love. What appeared like a fairy tale wedding at first became a living hell for the happy couple. They adopted a boy early in their marriage with the intention of strengthening their bond. Sadly, a plethora of problems started to destroy their relationship, overshadowing their aim. Loni Anderson's wasteful spending was a major source of tension in their marriage. Burt reportedly gave his wife a credit card with a whopping $50,000 in spending limits, but Loni used it all up in about an hour. Their already troubled marriage grew much more so as a result of their extravagant spending. Because of their past relationships, rumors of infidelity circulated about both partners. Although this was already widely expected, it continued to fuel tabloid speculation and spectacular stories regarding their relationship. The once inseparable power couple's personal life became a highly public and turbulent drama as they became subjects of more dramatic and speculative media articles. The disintegration of Burt Reynolds and Loni Anderson's marriage grew more apparent as the 1990s progressed. The couple's turbulent marriage came to an end in 1994, when they filed for a divorce. Burt Reynolds made many media appearances after the divorce to air his grievances with his ex-wife, leading to a highly public and contentious dispute. After the divorce, Burt was quite critical of Loni, and his words were full of hate. The media paid close attention to him since he was not afraid to voice his complaints. As an alternative, Loni Anderson opted not to retaliate or get involved in any public feuds with her ex-husband. By refusing to sink to his level in front of the public, she preserved her dignity. But Loni's choice to keep quiet wasn't permanent. After some time had passed, she finally spoke up about the horrific violence she had endured at Burt Reynolds' hands throughout their marriage. Further public attention and controversy were sparked by these discoveries, which threw further light on the dysfunctional relationship. When Burt Reynolds and Loni Anderson first crossed paths, Burt was, without a doubt, one of the world's most famous actors. Both celebrities' star power had already begun to wane by the time they filed for divorce in 1994. It was possible to make the case that their connection, rather than their individual accomplishments, had become the main reason they were famous. Both sides were captivated by the scandalous allegations and hostility that Burt Reynolds started to circulate against his ex-wife. Burt Reynolds filed for bankruptcy due to the severe financial difficulties he had following his stormy divorce from Loni Anderson. He probably felt compelled to bring up the idea that his marriage to Anderson had cost him a lot of money because of this financial load. Burt accused his ex-wife of being too materialistic and of never being able to wear the same thing again in a public criticism that he made public. He made it seem like she had wasted his money and made his financial condition worse after the divorce. At first, Loni stuck to her promise not to join Burt in a public war of words in reaction to his constant media attacks. But she changed her mind after coming to the realization that she had to tell her side of the tale. Even more incriminating than Burt's claims of a spendthrift wife were the stories that Loni Anderson revealed when she started to shed light on their unhappy marriage. Throughout their marriage, Loni said that Burt had often physically assaulted her. He had threatened her on several occasions, she said, claiming that her claims would be disregarded because of his larger reputation and renown. The dissolution of the marriage, according to Burt, occurred because Loni refused to have sexual relations with him for a period of 3 years. During the ceremony, he went so far as to claim that his mother had forbade him from marrying Loni. Perhaps Burt should have listened to his mom's counsel, he thought to himself, in retrospect. But if Loni's accusations of abuse are accurate, Burt may have earned the harm to his career and image that came with his messy divorce. After his divorce from Loni Anderson, Burt Reynolds' life and career took a sharp turn for the worst. Nevertheless, he was given another opportunity when he was hired in Paul Thomas Anderson's 1997 period piece, Boogie Nights. In the film, Reynolds played the role of a pornographic film director whose career took a turn for the worst following a successful run. A watershed moment in his career, the picture helped Burt reclaim part of his former Hollywood renown, and the character's parallels to his own circumstances at the time were profound. The public found it difficult to understand how Burt Reynolds' resurgent fame could be squared with Loni Anderson's claims of physical abuse that occurred during their marriage. Nonetheless, it seems like Loni and the public had forgiven Burt by the time he passed away in 2008. According to reports, the couple was able to restore their relationship enough in the years leading up to Burt's death to have a meal together. Even though Burt had always been a kind parent, Loni said in the years leading up to his death that he had physically abused her during their marriage. The public began to view Burt Reynolds as a complex person. While Princess Diana was in the public eye, Burt Reynolds and Loni Anderson were vying for media attention throughout their divorce. The media frequently focused on the couple's troubled relationship instead of other prominent issues. Reportedly, Princess Diana acknowledged this by sending a letter to Burt Reynolds, expressing her gratitude for directing the tabloid's focus away from her at the time. Burt was obligated to pay money to Loni Anderson as part of their divorce settlement, and this debt remained outstanding until 2008, a year before Burt passed away. Burt had a hard time keeping up with the large payments, in part because his employment was so inconsistent as he got older. No matter how long it took, he paid off his debts to her. Burt Reynolds, who was 82 years old when he died, suffered a heart attack. Burt never shied away from saying that he and Loni Anderson were ill-suited for each other. Actress Sally Field was his one and only real love, he insisted. Filming Smokey and the Bandit together brought Burt and Sally together, and they eventually became romantically involved. Unfortunately, Burt's drug addiction problems contributed to the breakdown of his relationship with Loni Anderson and his troublesome behavior during his marriage. Sally Field released her autobiography In Pieces, following Burt Reynolds' passing. Because it revealed things about their relationship that Burt would have preferred not to hear, Sally said in the memoir that she was relieved he died before it was published. Loni Anderson's fourth and current marriage to Bob Flick brought her happiness after a few years of unhappy marriage. Surprisingly, they dated in the 60s but eventually broke up. Their love blossomed again in later years, and in May of 2008 they exchanged wedding vows. Anderson has called their relationship destiny, saying that she wed the right man in 1963. After a string of romances and life events, she finally finds happiness and fulfillment in her fourth marriage, marking a new chapter in her personal life. Actress Loni Anderson took up the responsibility of caring for her parents, who were both affected with COPD. It came as a shock to her during this difficult time to learn that her parents, who were crippled by the disease themselves, still refused to give up smoking. Loni was taken aback by their unwillingness to quit smoking, especially given the debilitating symptoms they were facing, such violent coughing fits, difficulty breathing, and the overwhelming feeling of being engulfed in water. In light of all the pain they were causing, she was unable to understand why her parents persisted in smoking. Loni had a hard time understanding the addictive power of cigarettes since she did not smoke herself. She did admit that some authorities have drawn parallels between the difficulties of stopping smoking and that of quitting heroin, which is extremely addictive. She said, "It's hard for me to relate to, as I had never personally experienced the intense grip of nicotine addiction." Despite this, she was deeply affected by seeing her parents endure such immense pain and fight, and it continued to shape her. Loni Anderson's dedication to bringing attention to the difficulties of quitting smoking and the catastrophic consequences of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, stems from her time spent caring for her parents, who both suffer from the condition. Her goal was to make smokers realize how dangerous their habit is and how much of an addiction smoking is. Even though chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, was once known as emphysema, Anderson has been an outspoken supporter of raising awareness of the disease for many years, drawing on her own experiences and the devastating effects it had on her family. Long-term inhalation of smoke, most often from cigarettes, blocks airways in the lungs and causes chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Heart disease, lung cancer, and other associated disorders are more common in people with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Loni Anderson is deeply committed to teaching the public, especially young people, about the hazards of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, as she was driven by her parents' tragic deaths from this crippling condition. Loni Anderson is fighting for more awareness of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and its symptoms so that people may take action, such as reducing their exposure to secondhand smoke and learning about the risks of undiagnosed or untreated COPD. Her unwavering commitment to raising awareness and preventing the misery that chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, may inflict, particularly among younger generations, is deeply influenced by the personal experiences she has had with the condition in her own family. Loni Anderson remembers the turning point in her fight against chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a terrible condition linked to smoking, when she was resolved to do more. When her son was about 10 years old, a common age for kids to see heroes and role models in media, she found the inspiration she needed. Evidently enthralled by a TV character's smoking habit, her kid watched the show one day. Putting on spectacles, donning a cap, and even smoking a pencil while holding it in his mouth were all parts of his outfit to portray the persona. Loni was quite worried about this show. Like many youngsters, she came to the realization that her kid was susceptible to the media's effect. Loni Anderson was driven to fight smoking-related ailments, and her personal background served as a powerful backdrop for her resolve. According to what she said, smoking was a regular part of her parents' lives. From the office to cocktail parties to the morning after, they smoked anywhere. The habit was so common that she and her sister called it the purple haze. She also saw her parents' lives cruelly cut short by decades due to the negative impacts of this lifestyle. Loni was jolted awake when she saw her kid imitating a TV character by smoking. In order to make a change, she knew she had to step in. Her son became an ally in her fight against chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and she used him to drive home her point that other kids need their grandparents and parents more than anybody else. She brought to his attention the fact that his grandparents had died before he was born. Thus, he would never have known them. She thought that by involving her son in her campaign, she could teach him the importance of avoiding the pain and loss that may come from smoking-related illnesses and thus protect future generations. Loni Anderson has relentlessly disseminated the word about how to avoid and battle chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, across the nation. In her quest to spread her vital message to as many people as possible, she has visited a broad variety of locations, from nursing homes to high schools. As part of her effort to raise awareness, she toured senior living homes, where she spoke with people who had significant disabilities as a result of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Even mundane activities like taking a shower would take all of a person's air, according to her observations of the disease's devastating effects. Seeing her grandma in such a state, she reasoned, would serve as a sobering reminder of the fatal effects of smoking and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and might encourage others to think twice about lighting up. But she did concede that it's not easy to stop smoking. Loni stressed that the harm to a person's lungs can't be undone, no matter how much they try to stop smoking. People should not start smoking at an early age if they want to prevent the long-term impacts that smoking has. As part of her effort to raise awareness, she also spoke about her experiences visiting local high schools. Nevertheless, in her opinion, the time to start talking about the risks of smoking and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, is much earlier, preferably with junior high school kids, if we want to see any real change. To reduce the likelihood that young people may start smoking and experience its negative effects as adults, it is important to start these discussions when they are younger. Looking back on her own family's story, Loni felt a pang of regret for the time she never got to spend with her parents, who died in their early 50s and 60s from smoking-related and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, complications. She felt a profound sense of loss since they might have lived another 30 or 40 years, saw her children's lives unfold, and been a part of her family. She is determined to keep fighting for justice so that other families won't have to go through what she did after being denied the chance. To spare future generations the anguish and death brought on by chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, is her life's work. Do you have any thoughts on the intricate life of Loni Anderson? Please share your thoughts with us in the space provided. With any luck, you have found this to be of use. It would mean a lot if you could subscribe, like, and comment if you liked the video. Your time here is much appreciated. Until our next video, take care. The end.